Once you've added dates to a jurisdiction and patent type, you can customize the date schedule by clicking this View option. When you do that, you'll see a much wider view of the jurisdiction dates. You probably don't want every date in the date list showing up automatically for every new patent. So by selecting some options here, you can determine when a date should appear depending on the status of the patent. Every patent has a priority date, so in this case, we'll tell the system to automatically add that date for every status. We'll set the same option for the application filed date and the effective filing date. So now when we create a new patent record, as soon as we select the jurisdiction and the patent type, those dates are going to appear. For the issued date, we'll tell the system to only add it if the status is issued. And the same goes for the maintenance and expiration dates. If the patent isn't issued, we don't need them, but if it is issued, we definitely want them. So if we create a patent and set it to a status of pending, nothing really happens. These dates were already added. But if we change the status to issued, the maintenance and expiration dates are added automatically. Based on our template, the publication date is never added automatically. So if we want to add this date to a patent record, we have to click this button. When this form opens up, it shows all the dates that either haven't already been added to the patent or can recur. For example, there could be more than one office action. To add a date manually, type the date value in this field or select it from the drop-down calendar, check whether or not it's completed, and then click this button. When you add a date manually, it usually shows up at the bottom of the list. You can move dates up or down by clicking this option and then using the arrow buttons to move the date. You can also click this hyperlink to sort the dates by the date value. By default, any blank dates go to the top of the list. If you'd rather have the blank dates go to the bottom of the list, then go to Preferences, choose the Settings tab, and select this option. Now when you click this hyperlink, the blank dates will appear last. Another option is to sort the date list by the date value, but in the reverse order. To do that, select this option first, and then click the hyperlink. If you change your mind, you can deselect this option and click the hyperlink again. If you check this box, you're telling Riva Trademark you want to calculate this date against another date. Enter the date interval that you want, and then select the date that will be used as the basis for the calculation. For a utility patent in jurisdiction USA, the expiration date should occur 20 years after the effective filing date. We've also set our maintenance dates to occur at 3.5 years, 7.5 years, and 11.5 years after the issue date. Since we can't enter a fraction in this field, we converted the years to months. Riva Trademark can calculate related dates 3 levels deep. In other words, a date can produce a calculated date, and that calculated date can produce another calculated date. So here we've set the expiration date to be calculated at 20 years after the effective filing date, and we've set the expiration reminder to be calculated at 6 months before the expiration date. So now if we go to a patent record and update the status, these dates are added to our date schedule. And if we update the issue date, the maintenance dates will also be recalculated. To edit a date, just click the date name hyperlink. You can type the date or select it from the drop-down. And if you check this box, you're telling the system to mark this date as completed. And if you check this box, you're also telling the system to recalculate any dates that are related to this one. Another option you can choose here is to lock the date. If you lock the date, you're telling the system you don't want to recalculate this date no matter what happens with the other dates. When dates are added to this list, the ones that you've set up to be calculated dates are shaded in yellow. If you set up a date template that's related to another date, you can also check this option, which tells the system to always add this date if the related date exists. For example, we have a date for responding to an office action, and we've set it to calculate it 3 months after the office action date. We don't want to add this date automatically for any particular status, but we definitely do want to add it if there's been an office action. So if we don't set this option, we could have a problem. If we go to a patent and add an office action date, that date appears, but the response date didn't come in, and if we're not paying attention, we could forget about it. So back on the date template, we'll check this option. This tells the system that whenever there's an office action added, we want to automatically add the response date. So back on our patent record, we'll add the office action date, and this time the response date is added automatically. When you are editing a date, you can calculate it against another date, or even calculate it against itself. Suppose you did receive an office action and you were required to respond within 45 days. Instead of getting out your calendar and counting, you could calculate this date by opening the response date, going down to the office action date, setting your date interval here, and clicking this link. The new date is now calculated. Or suppose you were granted an extension of 100 days for the patent term. You could just recalculate it by doing this. To set which days can recur, check this option. If a date can recur, check this box. In some jurisdictions, the intervals between dates don't happen at exact intervals. In Germany, for example, maintenance fees are due on the anniversary of the filing date, but they're extended to the end of the month. By selecting an adjustment from this box, you can extend the date to the end of the month, or subtract a day, or make any of the adjustments you see here. So if we go to a PCT patent for Germany and change the status to issued, the maintenance dates are added, but they're extended to the end of the month. If you've set up the date template for a jurisdiction and later you want to set up a template for another jurisdiction where the dates are similar, you can save a lot of time by copying the date template from one jurisdiction to another. To do that, select the jurisdiction and the patent type that you need to populate, and then double-click the jurisdiction box. In the pop-up form, select the jurisdiction and the patent type that has the date template that you want to copy. When you click this link, all the dates are copied. Then you can just change whatever needs changing. You can also copy dates from the same jurisdiction but for a different patent type. If, for example, you've set up the dates for a PCT patent, you can copy the date schedule for the same jurisdiction to a utility patent. Then just remove the dates that don't apply. If you use this function, be sure to check your date-specific emails to see if any of the text here needs to be changed as well.